Hello everyone, this is Mr. Navratil here. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the next part in our Onshape series, the next level. And this one is going to be pretty simple. It's just taking a 2D image and essentially making it into a 3D object. Now we've done this a couple different times, a couple different ways. We've done it with the keychain, and we've also done it technically with the screwdriver handle. But in this sense, we're going to be finding an image that's a little bit more complicated than just the two of those. And it's also one of the first opportunities really in our Onshape levels that you're able to choose exactly what you want to create your image of. And then, of course, make it into a 3D object. So I do have an example. It will be posted on the Google Classroom. You're more than welcome to use mine if you'd like, or you could find your own image. It is important when you're looking for your image that you do find something that has almost that silhouette kind of background, just like we would be finding for like a vinyl cut sticker. But you need to keep in mind that the entirety of the object needs to be connected. There cannot be any pieces that are separated from one another. So for instance, if we were to bring this over to the 3D printer, if we go to Part Studio One here, right click and hit export, and then we make sure that it says millimeter and as an STL, and we could just type in UFO. If this was to get sent to the 3D printer, everything would be printed as one piece. And again, very similarly to our keychain design, it's possible that if we were to print this, you could put a keyring on it and make it a keychain, right? So keep in mind, if you do choose a different image, you are going to have to try and find something that is all connected as one piece. That's going to be very important. Okay, so let's get into this. There really isn't too much new information about how to create this in Onshape. So we're going to go back to the dashboard here. I'm going to hit create like we always do in the top left, and then document. And for this one, we're going to be calling it 2D to 3D. It's just a pretty simple concept. And we'll hit create. Now, same as with our vinyl cut sticker or the keychain for images, we are going to first come up to where it says sketch, and we can go ahead and hit on the front view here, and that puts in our digital piece of paper. We're going to click the front on our view cube so we can look at it straightforward. And now we need to upload an image that we have found. Again, you can download the one that will be on our Google Classroom, just this simple UFO design, or you could find your own. We're going to come up to the little arrow next to this page icon, and we'll hit insert image as we've done before. Keep in mind that when this pops up, if you cannot see the import button, you're most likely on a Chromebook where the screen is not large enough. So you're going to have to go to the top of your keyboard and find the full screen button, and that should give you access to clicking on import. So we'll go there, we'll hit the desktop. I did already download this here, and I'll hit OK. This is my UFO PNG. So I will click on the image. I'll come over here. I'm going to click once on the origin and then come up and click again. So as always, we are simply just going to be kind of tracing along these lines. Now keep in mind, if you're doing something like this for the UFO, for instance, we're going to have to do multiple tracings, and multiple loops would be a better way to describe it. So for instance, we'd have to trace around the entirety of the outside of this. We'd have to trace around the inside of the window here, and then we'd have to trace the two eyes. And then finally, when we're going to trace these circles, you could use the spline tool as we normally do, or you could simply just come up and hit the circle tool and try and get an approximation of where it's at in the center, just like that. When we're going to make profiles for 3D printing, you don't have to use the spline tool. You're more than welcome to use all of the drawing tools that are at your disposal. So if we take a look at tracing this, we'll be back in 1 sec. So after you have traced along each of the edges that I was describing before, we should be good to try and extrude this object. Keep in mind we did the outside, the inside, the two eyes, and then I just used a circle tool to do these circle tracings on the inside. So we'll hit the Finish Sketch button here. We'll change our view so we can see what's going on here. We're going to come up and we're going to find the extrude tool right next to sketch, and then we can just simply click on the actual ship. Now hopefully you made a complete loop everywhere that you needed to. If it's not letting you click there to extrude, you need to go back in the sketch and make sure that every single thing that you traced was in fact a complete loop. Now we're not going to do an inch here, it seems a little unnecessary, so let's do something similar to our keychain at 0.125, and then we can go ahead and hit the green check mark. So there you go. That is essentially how you create or a 3D object from a 2D image. This can be used to do a multitude of different things. If we were to print this out, we could make it into sections, make it very large. We could use it as an art piece on a wall. We could print it, 3D print it as small enough to make it a keychain. There's a bunch of different things you could do once you've created the item. Now, if I was to make it a keychain, we could make it look a little bit more official than these kind of hard edges. So we can just simply come up and find the fillet tool here. And remember, this tool allows us to click on edges and automatically round them over. So it's currently set to 0.05. So just as an example, if it's set to something too large and you go to click on the edge here, it won't let you do that most of the time because it's too big. So if this was, again, by default set to something larger, you might end up with these red lines. And all that's saying to you is, hey, the radius is way too big. We're not going to be able to create that fillet for you. So I'm going to go back to the 0.05 actually. And you notice that rounded over this whole corner for us. I think it would be cool if maybe we did the insides of these as well. Be mindful, you're not clicking on surfaces, you're clicking on edges here. So I'm just trying to click on the edge of this circle. Right there, right there, right there, and right there. And maybe we want to do the back too. Let's kind of keep it consistent. Just like that. And then I can go ahead and hit the green check mark. So this does look a little bit better now that things are rounded over. Keep in mind, you don't have to use the fillet. You could also maybe use the chamfer tool and just cut the edges off of things. Now, you might run into a situation where some of where you're trying to click is just always going to be red. It doesn't even matter what you're adding in for the radius or the distance. For instance, this spline that we drew on the inside here is just way too complicated for the program to add in any type of chamfer or fillet. But maybe we can try the eyes here. That looks kind of cool. Maybe make it just a little bit smaller than that so it's not falling off. Awesome. And there you go. So again, you do not have to choose this image. You can choose it just to complete the level and move on. And if you're curious about which pictures might work better, you can just ask me in the lab. And that is how to create a 3D object from a 2D image.